The arena was louder than a storm. Thousands of alien voices filled the massive dome. The walls were made of dark metal, glowing with red lights. Every seat was packed. Creatures from 100 worlds had gathered to see blood. This place was called the Crimson Arena, where only the strongest walked out alive. In the center of the arena stood one small figure, a human. He wore a simple combat suit, scratched and old. His boots were dusty. His helmet was under his arm. He looked calm, almost quiet, like he did not belong in such a violent place, but he did. His name was Ethan Cole, a human marine from Earth. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. Citizens of the galaxy, today we witness a special match, a human warrior against the Iron Queen. The ground shook as something massive stepped into the light. The Iron Queen was not just big. She was terrifying. She stood over 8 feet tall. Her skin was dark blue and covered with glowing battle marks. Heavy armor wrapped her body, shining like burning metal. Her eyes were sharp, bright like fire. She carried a huge blade, taller than most humans. The crowd roared in excitement. The Iron Queen looked down at Ethan and laughed. "So this is the famous human?" she said loudly. "You are small, you look weak. I could break you with one hand." Aliens around the arena laughed with her. Some pointed at Ethan, some mocked him. Some even turned away, thinking the fight would end in seconds. Ethan did not reply. He only looked up at her, silent and steady. The Iron Queen walked closer. Each step shook the ground. "Tell me, little human," she said, bending down slightly. "Do you want me to end this quickly or slowly?" Still, Ethan said nothing. Slowly, he placed his helmet on the ground. The crowd became a little quieter. The Iron Queen smiled, thinking he was giving up, but Ethan was not surrendering. He was showing his face. His eyes were calm, not afraid, not angry. Just focused. Inside his mind, memories moved like shadows. Training on Earth, long days in the desert, cold nights in the mountains, friends lost, battles survived. He had faced monsters before. This was just another one. The announcer raised his hand. "Fighters, prepare." Energy shields rose around the arena floor. The Iron Queen lifted her blade and pointed it at Ethan. "I will enjoy this," she said. Ethan slowly raised his hands, not in fear, but ready. The crowd was now silent. Even the aliens who mocked him leaned forward in their seats. The bell rang. The fight had begun. The Iron Queen moved first. She rushed forward like a living tank. Her blade cut through the air with a loud scream. Ethan jumped aside. Just in time, the blade struck the ground and cracked the stone floor. Dust flew everywhere. The crowd cheered. She almost crushed him. Someone shouted. The Iron Queen laughed. Again, "Run, little human, run while you can." Ethan did not answer. He kept moving. Not fast, not slow. He was watching. The Iron Queen attacked again. And again. Each strike was powerful. Each one could end the fight. But Ethan avoided them all. Not by luck, by control. He studied her movements, her balance, her timing. The crowd slowly changed. They were no longer laughing. They were watching. The Iron Queen stopped for a moment, breathing heavily. Her smile faded a little. "Why won't you fall?" she growled. Ethan finally spoke. "Because I am still standing." The words were simple, but strong. She rushed again, angry now. This time, Ethan did not dodge. He stepped forward. The crowd gasped. The Iron Queen's blade came down. Ethan raised his arm and blocked it. With his bare arm, the sound was loud like metal hitting stone. For a second, everything froze. The Iron Queen's eyes widened. "How?" she whispered. The blade did not cut him. It stopped. Ethan pushed it aside and stepped back. The crowd exploded in shock. A human blocking a gladiator's strike. With his arm. The Iron Queen looked at him differently now. Not as a joke. Not as prey, but as a threat. Ethan stood straight, breathing slowly. Blood ran from a small cut on his arm, but he did not look at it. He looked only at her. "This is your last chance," he said quietly. "You can walk away." The Iron Queen growled and lifted her blade again. "I will make you kneel," she said. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "No," he replied. "You will learn why humans never kneel." The arena fell silent. Two warriors stood face to face. The giant and the human. And the real battle had only just begun. The silence inside the arena felt heavy. The Iron Queen stood tall, her blade glowing under the red lights. Ethan stood in front of her, calm and still, like he was not facing death itself. The crowd waited. Then the Iron Queen smiled again, but this time, it was not playful. "So the human has claws," she said slowly. "Good. I was getting bored." She moved. Not with rage, not with wild power, but with skill. She changed her stance, lowered her center of gravity, and circled Ethan like a predator. Ethan noticed everything: her breathing, her grip, the way her tail moved behind her armor. She attacked suddenly, not a heavy strike this time, but fast, sharp cuts meant to confuse him. Ethan stepped back once, twice, then he stopped retreating. The Iron Queen struck at his legs. He jumped. She swung again at his head. He ducked. The crowd began to shout again, but this time not with laughter, with fear. The Iron Queen pushed harder, strike after strike, each one faster than before, but Ethan stayed calm. He moved like water, flowing around her attacks, not trying to overpower her, not trying to impress anyone, only trying to survive, only trying to learn. Then suddenly, Ethan made his first real move. As her blade passed close to him, he grabbed the flat side of it with both hands and pushed it away. The Iron Queen staggered half a step. The crowd gasped. No one had ever pushed her back before. Her eyes flashed with anger. She roared and swung again, harder, this time. Ethan did not dodge fully. The blade cut his shoulder. Blood splashed onto the floor. The crowd shouted loudly. "Now he is finished." Some cried, but Ethan did not fall. He touched his shoulder once, then looked at his hand, now red. He smiled slightly. The Iron Queen froze. "Why do you smile?" she asked, confused. "You are wounded." Ethan lifted his eyes to her. "On Earth," he said. "This is called a warning." She growled and rushed forward again. Her blade moved like a storm. Ethan backed away, blocking some strikes, avoiding others. Each hit pushed him closer to the edge of the arena. The Iron Queen pressed him hard now. She wanted him. Trapped. Cornered. Finished. The crowd felt it. This was her moment, but Ethan stopped at the edge. Behind him, only the energy wall remained. The Iron Queen lifted her blade high. "Now you fall," she said. She brought the blade down with all her strength, but Ethan did something no one expected. He stepped forward into the strike. The blade scraped across his armor, tearing metal and skin, but Ethan kept moving. He struck her chest with his shoulder. The Iron Queen stumbled backward. Shocked, the blade slipped from her hands and crashed onto the floor. The sound echoed through the arena. The Iron Queen looked down at her empty hands, then up at Ethan. The crowd went completely silent. No one spoke. No one breathed. A human had disarmed the Iron Queen. She stared at him, her chest rising and falling fast. "You fight like no other," she said slowly, "but you are still weak compared to me." Ethan stood straight, blood running from his shoulder. "Maybe," he replied, "but weak does not mean broken." She picked up her blade again, gripping it tightly. Now her face showed something new. Not laughter, not anger, but doubt. She attacked. Again, but slower this time, more careful, more controlled. Ethan could feel it. She was no longer mocking him. She was respecting him, and that scared her. The Iron Queen tried a new move. She swung low, then high, then twisted the blade midair. Ethan was forced to retreat again. But now, he was not just surviving. He was responding. He blocked her strikes with his arms, his legs, even his shoulders. Each block hurt him, but he stayed standing. Crowd was on its feet now, not cheering, not mocking, watching. The Iron Queen paused again. Her breathing was heavy, sweat mixed with glowing marks on her skin. She looked at Ethan like she was seeing him for the first time. "You humans," she said quietly, "you do not fight to win." Ethan answered calmly, double quotes, "No, we fight so we do not lose." For a moment, neither moved. The air felt tight. Then the Iron Queen raised her blade again. But now, her eyes were not full of pride. They were full of questions, and for the first time since the fight began, the giant gladiator was no longer sure that she would win. The Iron Queen stood still for a long moment. The arena, once loud and wild, was now quiet like a grave. She looked at the human marine in front of her. Blood on his armor, dust on his boots. But his eyes, steady and unbroken. "You are strange, human," she said slowly. "You bleed, yet you do not fall." Ethan did not answer. He only tightened his fists. The Iron Queen lifted her blade again, but this time she did not rush. She walked slowly, carefully. Each step echoed through the arena. The crowd felt it. This was no longer a show. This was war. She suddenly attacked, faster than before. Her blade cut through the air, aiming straight for Ethan's head. Ethan raised his arm and blocked it again. Pain rushed through his body like fire, but he stayed standing. The Iron Queen followed with a kick, sending him sliding across the floor. He rolled once and stood again. The crowd gasped. Some aliens whispered, "Why won't he fall?" The Iron Queen growled in frustration. She charged again. This time, Ethan did not wait. He ran toward her. The crowd shouted in shock. Two fighters met in the center of the arena. Blade and fist clashed. Metal and bone struck again and again. The Iron Queen was stronger, but Ethan was faster. He moved under her blade, struck her ribs, then her leg. Not with power, with precision. She staggered slightly, not much, but enough. The Iron Queen's eyes widened. A human had hurt her, the first time in many battles. Her breathing grew louder. She attacked wildly now. Anger replaced control. Her blade struck the floor, breaking stone and throwing dust into the air. Ethan disappeared. In the crowd could not see him. The Iron Queen stood alert, spinning slowly, trying to find him. Then, suddenly, Ethan burst out of the dust and struck her knee. The Iron Queen fell to one knee for just a second, only 1 second. But that was enough. The arena exploded in noise. The giant had touched the ground. She pushed herself back up, furious. "You dare?" she roared. She lifted her blade high and brought it down with all her might. Ethan jumped aside, barely escaping. The blade shattered the floor where he stood. The Iron Queen was breathing hard. Now sweat rolled down her face. Her glowing battle marks flickered. She looked tired. Ethan noticed it. He did not smile. He did not speak. He only stepped forward. Slowly. Like a storm that had just begun. The Iron Queen raised her blade again, but her hands shook slightly. The crowd saw it. So did Ethan. "You are slowing," he said calmly. Her eyes flashed. "I am eternal," she shouted. She rushed him again, but Ethan was ready. He blocked her strike, twisted his body, and struck her side with his elbow. The Iron Queen cried out and stumbled. The crowd froze. The Iron Queen had cried out in pain. That sound was something no one had ever heard before. She stepped back, touching her side. Her armor was cracked. She looked at it in disbelief. Then at Ethan. For the first time her voice was quiet. "What are you?" Ethan answered simply, "Human." The Iron Queen took another step back. Her pride was breaking. She tried to hide it. She raised her blade again, but this time slower. Careful. Afraid. She attacked again, but not with full force. She was testing. searching for a way to stop him. Ethan saw it. He stepped forward. Again, he did not run. He did not rush. He walked. Each step filled the arena with tension. The Iron Queen's breathing became fast and uneven. Her eyes followed him closely. She tried another strike. Ethan caught her arm. The crowd screamed. No one had ever grabbed the Iron Queen like that. He twisted her arm slightly, forcing her to step back. She pulled free and jumped away. Shocked. The Iron Queen stared at him. With anger now. With something else. Fear. A deep, silent fear. She had fought many warriors. Beasts. Machines. Monsters. But never someone like him. Someone who refused to fall. Someone who grew stronger with every wound. The Iron Queen took a slow step back, then another. The crowd was silent again. Giant was retreating. Not much, but enough. Ethan stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard but standing tall. Blood covered his armor. Pain filled his body, but his will was stronger. The Iron Queen lifted her blade one more time. But now her hands were shaking, and deep inside her heart, for the first time in her life, the Iron Queen was afraid that she might lose. The Iron Queen stood still, her blade raised, her hands shaking. She tried to hide it, but the crowd saw it. So did Ethan. The giant gladiator, once proud and fearless, now looked uncertain. Ethan took a slow breath. His body hurt. Every muscle burned. Blood ran down his armor and onto the floor. But he did not step back. He stepped forward, one slow step, then another. Each step made the Iron Queen's eyes widen. "You should be on the ground," she said, her voice low. "No being should still stand after what I gave you." Ethan answered quietly. Humans were never made to fall easily. The Iron Queen shouted and rushed him again. Her blade came down like thunder. Ethan raised both arms and blocked it. Impact was terrible. The sound echoed like a crash of metal and bone. Ethan was pushed to his knees. The crowd gasped. The Iron Queen smiled again. "Now," she said, "you kneel." But Ethan did not fall forward. He pushed himself back up. Slowly. Painfully. But he stood. The Iron Queen's smile disappeared. Ethan looked at her, breathing hard. "I kneel only to help others rise," he said. She roared in anger and struck again. Ethan dodged and moved to her side. He struck her ribs with his fist. She staggered. She turned and swung wildly. The blade cut his leg. Ethan nearly fell. But he caught himself and stayed standing. The crowd was silent. Even the announcer did not speak. The Iron Queen was breathing heavily now. Her movements were slower. Her attacks were not clean anymore. Ethan saw it. She was losing control, not because she was weak, but because she was tired. She had never faced a fight like this. A fight that did not end quickly. A fight where power was not enough. The Iron Queen attacked again, but Ethan did not step back this time. He stepped into her space. He struck her shoulder, then her chest. Then her leg. Each hit small, each hit painful. The Iron Queen tried to strike back, but missed. Her blade hit only air. She stumbled. Again. The crowd rose to their feet. The human was pushing the giant back. Slowly. Relentlessly. "You cannot win," she shouted. Ethan replied calmly, "I do not need to win fast. I only need to last longer." The Iron Queen roared and charged with all she had left. Her blade came down one final time. Ethan jumped forward, under the strike, and drove his shoulder into her body. The impact was massive. The Iron Queen flew backward and hit the ground hard. The arena shook. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The Iron Queen lay on the floor, staring at the ceiling. She tried to rise. Her arms shook. She failed. Ethan stood a few steps away, breathing hard, barely standing himself. The crowd was frozen. The giant who mocked the human was now lying at his feet. The Iron Queen finally rolled onto her side and pushed herself to one knee, just one knee. She looked up at Ethan, Her eyes were no longer full of pride, they were full of confusion. And something else. Respect, double quotes you. Fight without hate, she said quietly. You fight without fear. Why? Ethan thought for a moment. Then he answered, because humans fight for more than themselves. The Iron Queen tried to stand again, but her leg failed. She fell back to one knee. The crowd could feel it now. End was near, but the Iron Queen was not defeated yet. She lifted her blade again. Slowly. Her arms shook, but her eyes were sharp. I will not fall easily, she said. Ethan nodded. I know, he replied. That is why this fight matters. Two warriors faced each other again, one giant, one human, both wounded. Both tired, but only one still stood with calm strength. The arena lights burned brighter. The crowd leaned forward, because now they understood. This was no longer about who was stronger. This was about whose will would break first. And the human marine showed no sign of breaking. The arena felt different now. The noise, the lights, the air itself. Everything seemed to wait. The Iron Queen stood on one knee, her blade resting on the ground. Her breathing was heavy, slow, and uneven. Sweat mixed with glowing marks on her skin, making them flicker like dying fire. Ethan stood a few steps away. His body ached, his leg burned. His arm felt numb, but he remained standing. The Iron Queen looked at him, not with anger now, but with deep disbelief. You should be broken, she said quietly. No one lasts long against me. Ethan answered softly. Then today you met someone new. She pushed herself up slowly, using her blade as support. Her movements were no longer smooth. The powerful giant now moved like a wounded beast. Still dangerous. Still proud. She lifted her blade again. The crowd did not cheer. They only watched. The Iron Queen rushed him one last time. Fast. Not powerful, but desperate. Ethan saw it. He moved aside, letting her blade miss by inches. As she passed him, he struck her back with his elbow. The Iron Queen stumbled forward. She tried to turn and attack again, but her leg failed her. She fell, not crashing, not dramatic. Just falling to both knees. The her leg failed her. She fell, not crashing, not dramatic. Just falling to both knees. Sound was soft. But in the silent arena, it sounded like thunder. The Iron Queen knelt. The crowd froze. The giant Gladiator on her knees. Ethan did not move toward her. He did not raise his fists. He simply stood there, breathing hard, watching. The Iron Queen tried to rise again. Her arms shook. She failed. She hit the ground with her fists in frustration. No, she whispered. She looked up at Ethan. Her eyes were wide, not with rage. With fear. The same fear she had given to many before. She said, slowly, "What are you doing to me?" Ethan replied calmly, "Nothing. You did this to yourself." She tried to stand again, failed again. Her pride was breaking. Her voice shook. "I am the Iron Queen," she said, more to herself than to him. "I have never knelt." Ethan stepped forward slowly. The crowd held its breath. He stopped just a few feet from her. "You are still a warrior," he said quietly. "But even warriors fall." The Iron Queen looked down at her shaking hands, then back at him. "Why don't you finish it?" she asked. "You have won." Ethan shook his head. "I have not come to kill you," he said. "I came to show you something." She frowned in confusion. Ethan continued, "Strength is not only in the body, it is in the heart, in the mind, in what you choose to do when you could destroy someone, but decide not to." The Iron Queen closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were wet. Not with sweat. With tears. The crowd could not believe it. The Iron Queen crying. Slowly, she lowered her blade and let it fall from her hands. It hit the ground and slid away. The sound echoed through the arena. A Sound that meant one thing. She was no longer fighting. The Iron Queen placed both hands on the ground and bowed her head. Not fully, but enough. Then show me, she said softly, what it means to be human. Ethan stood there, silent. The crowd was silent too. The fight that began with laughter now stood at a moment no one had expected. Not death, not victory. But choice. Ethan looked at the kneeling giant. And for the first time since entering the arena, he smiled, not in pride. But in understanding. The Iron Queen had fallen, not because she was weak, but because she had met something stronger than power, human will. The Iron Queen remained on her knees. The giant who once ruled the arena now looked small. The crowd was silent. Not a single voice, not a single sound. Ethan stood before her, still, breathing hard, still wounded, yet calm like a quiet storm. The Iron Queen slowly raised her head. Her eyes met his. They were no longer fierce. They were broken. You have beaten me, she said softly. Do what you came to do. Ethan did not move. The Iron Queen swallowed and spoke again, her voice shaking. I mocked you. I called you weak. I tried to crush you like nothing. She paused. And now, I kneel before you. The crowd leaned forward. No one had ever heard those words from her. She placed one hand on her chest and bowed her head lower. Please, she said quietly, spare me. A deep shock moved through the arena. The Iron Queen begging. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. Inside his mind, memories rose again. War on Earth. Friends lost. Enemies defeated. He had taken many lives before, but this moment was different. This was not war. This was choice. He opened his eyes and looked at her again. You are not asking because you are weak, he said slowly. You are asking because you are alive. The Iron Queen looked up at him. Her voice trembled. I do not fear death, she said, but I fear becoming nothing more than a monster. Ethan stepped closer. The crowd could barely breathe. He stopped just in front of her. You were never a monster, he said. You were a warrior who forgot what she was fighting for. The Iron Queen lowered her head. Tears fell onto the arena floor. Not from pain. From release. I have killed many, she whispered. I have taken pride in it. She looked at him again. And yet, you stand here and do not kill me. Ethan answered calmly, because killing you would be easy. She looked confused. He continued, letting you live is harder and more powerful. The Iron Queen slowly removed her helmet and placed it on the ground. Her face was marked by scars, but now it looked human. Not alien, human. I will leave this arena, she said quietly. I will never raise my blade for glory again. Ethan nodded. That is mercy, he said. Not forgiveness, not forgetting, but giving a chance to change. The Iron Queen bowed her head deeply now, not as a queen, but as a warrior who had found humility. Thank you. Human, she said softly. The crowd remained silent. Then slowly, one alien stood up. Then another. Then another. Until the entire arena rose. Not in fear. Not in rage, but in respect. Ethan turned away from the Iron Queen and began to walk toward the exit. Every step he took echoed through the silent arena. He did not look back. He did not raise his hands in victory. He simply walked, because true victory did not need applause. Behind him, the Iron Queen remained kneeling, watching the human walk away. A giant once feared by all, now changed by one human. The fight was over, but its meaning had just begun. Ethan walked out of the arena, slowly. Behind him, the great gates closed with a deep sound. The noise of the crowd did not follow him. The silence did. He stepped into the long hallway outside the Crimson Arena. The lights were dim and cold. His armor was broken. His body was tired, but his spirit was unbroken. For a moment, Ethan leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. The fight was over. not just for him, but for the galaxy. Inside the arena, the Iron Queen still knelt. She did not move for a long time, not because she was weak, but because she was thinking about every battle she had fought. About every life she had taken. And about the one human who chose not to take hers. Slowly, she stood. Not as a queen, not as a monster, but as someone new. She looked at the crowd, once hungry for blood, now quiet and thoughtful. This arena was built to celebrate power, she said loudly. But today, it learned about something stronger. The crowd listened. She continued, power can break bodies, but mercy changes souls. No one laughed. No one mocked, because deep inside, they knew she was right. News of the fight spread fast across the galaxy. From world to world. From system to system. Not about how a human defeated a giant, but about how a human chose mercy over death. Soon, stories were told in distant places. Of a small human marine who stood before an 8-foot gladiator and walked away without taking her life. Some called him foolish, some called him weak, but many called him something else. Hope. Back on Earth, Ethan did not return as a hero. He returned quietly. No grand welcome. No parades. He visited the graves of fallen soldiers. He stood in silence before them. I am still standing, he whispered. And because of you, so is humanity. The galaxy had learned something new that day. Humans were not the biggest, not the fastest, not the strongest, but when humans stood, they stood for more than victory. They stood for choice. They stood for mercy. They stood for meaning. And somewhere far away, under a different sky, the Iron Queen removed her armor forever. She did not return to the arena. She chose another path, because one human showed her that strength without honor is nothing, and honor without mercy is empty. That day, the galaxy did not fear humans. It respected them, and that respect was more powerful than any weapon, because humanity did not rise by destroying others, but by rising above destruction itself.